Well, we're going to make I'm going to start with the Startup Radar report, making a very short presentation of some results that can be found at the deal room platform. So most of them can be analyzed by you. I'm going to try to go ahead with the presentation. Where should I point out? Oh, sorry, it was behind. Could you please help me to go back? I was looking at that presentation, so okay, okay, now that's it. Thank you. So we should highlight about the international position of Madrid in terms both of size, in number of scale-ups, and the fifth position in Europe in number of scale-ups and startups, the fourth position in terms of venture capital investment rounds. I would also like to highlight that Madrid being the sixth place among European cities with the most promising prospects for entrepreneurship, for startups, for technology, for innovation, according to the Financial Times FDI report, which is published every year. And in that report, Madrid is gaining positions in this international place as a reference for other entrepreneurs to establish their businesses. Also important to say the advantages of Madrid for other entrepreneurs, like having a wide ecosystem, or advantages like being the European bridge between Europe and Latin America, also for employment in the high-tech sector, or for concentrating a big number of multinational corporations that we will see just in a few slides. So the number of startups is growing, but also the number of scale-ups, and that allows us to venture that in a few years we will have more unicorns, more future unicorns, which is something that still is a bit different and is growing in the last years. The number of startups grows every year. Every year we have more innovative startups, so it's very good news for us. And those created between 2011 and 2015 are those with the highest or with the best, the most successful in terms of investment. So they concentrate most of the value also. We see in the graph, it's about 9.1 billion euro that they concentrate in the startups created in these years. That's mainly in the sectors of fintech, health tech, enterprise software, mobility, marketing, job recruitment, real estate. We have seen a very, very positive evolution in the last years. And for example, mobility concentrates in the last investments were very, very high and very important in this sector. Also important to talk about the diversity of Madrid. Madrid has very high or fast-growing startups almost in every sector. We have rising stars in fintech, health tech, mobility. We have 4 unicorns, as you know. It's Allfunds, Cabify, Idealista, and Copado. Now, at this moment, are companies with a valuation with more than 1 billion euro. But almost in any sector, we have rising stars that will become or could become in some way future unicorns. So that's also good news for all of us. Let's talk a bit about jobs, about employment. Considering the more than 30,000 employment jobs created by Madrid companies, we can say that the older companies, the older grown-up companies, are those that create most of the employment, with an average of 37 employees per company. The youngest companies have an average of about 7, but they create most of the incremental jobs. That's normal. The youngest grow more than the oldest. But it's very important that they have grown a lot since 2019, before the COVID crisis. So it's something that we can discuss, but also good news. A small number of companies, of about 60 companies, concentrate more or less 35% of value and about 50% of jobs. It could seem very high or too high, but it isn't. In fact, other ecosystems which are more mature or have with more unicorns than Madrid concentrate a higher proportion of value and jobs in an even smaller number of companies. So it's something that could even evolve in the future, concentrating more jobs and value into in a smaller group of companies. And well, the average number of employees is of 13. Since 2019, the employment has grown in most of the sectors, so it's also very good news. Most of the sectors have recovered from the crisis, from the COVID crisis. Only a few sectors, you can see in the third graph, the growth in jobs is between 15% and 60%, and only a limited number of sectors like travel, like tourism, haven't still recovered yet, but we expect them to recover in the next months. So this is also a trend. Concerning venture capital investments, in the last, since 2015, the sectors that have received the most investment have been transportation, enterprise software, jobs recruitment, and fintech. And as said at the beginning, some aspects to be highlighted in Madrid are the number of exits. That's a representation of the success of the investment. If exits are good, it means that the companies behind and the investments have been well selected, that there is a good critical mass behind. Also, the new funds raised by local venture capitals are in a good position, the number of funding rounds. The number, not the total investment. The total investment should still improve in the next years, and for that it's very important to attract also foreign investors, as Laura said, that they are becoming more and more important in Madrid, also in many other places. Madrid has, venture capital investment in Madrid has reached a record. In fact, this graph that I'm showing is from June, but now the results for 2021 is much higher, it's much better. And this increasing in investment comes from, in a big proportion, from international investors, as we can see in this graph. And these international investors are especially important in these late stage phases. For example, rounds with more than 100 million euros, 96 or 90-something% of these investments come from international investors. So it's especially important in those late-stage phases. Just to finish, I'm going to show two pictures about the ecosystem, the support ecosystem. Madrid concentrates a big number of private accelerators, incubators, working places, including also corporates, but also public institutions like universities, research centers, and all these, especially these, the last ones, are the home or the origin of more than 300 spin-offs in sectors like health, energy, engineering, or in technologies like artificial intelligence, deep learning, big data. And very important to say that the deep tech companies in which Madrid has a big potential, most of them, the best ones, because many companies are classified as deep tech, but the truth is that many of them shouldn't be classified as that, because they are using artificial intelligence, but they are not really doing research in that sense. So if we focus on the really important deep tech companies, about 75% of them come from these public institutions, universities, R&D institutions, parks, hospitals, and many of them are addressing, in fact, sustainable development goals like innovation, health, industry, etc. So it's a really important thing to know and to focus helping these deep tech companies also. Well, that's more or less all. But before finishing, I would like to thank all the knowledge partners that are helping us to update the information on the deal room, on the Startup Radar, Madrid deal room platform, universities, R&D institutions, hospitals, science parks, and also all the incubators that are updating constantly the information. That allows us to have a database as accurate as possible. At this moment, it's much more than what we had 1 year or 2 years ago. And I would like to especially thank the 13 knowledge partners that have been collaborating with us, updating the landscapes. Landscapes are graphical representations of companies in different sectors. They are creating 11 landscapes of sectors like startups in deep tech, in artificial intelligence, in edtech. And these graphs, these graphical representations will be shown this afternoon, I think, in the different roundtables that we are going to have, the different panels. And if you have time and you wish to find how these landscapes work, I encourage you to attend and see how it is. It's a great work from their side. Well, thank you very much, and I give way to Isidro. I don't know if how is time. I think it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Eduardo. Well, I'm turning to another point, another area, and let me share with you a study we conducted in Madrid region on the yearly version of 20-year span time in which we have been studying the entrepreneurial phenomenon all around the world. I am a part of a global team of about 3,000 researchers in 20 countries. No, in 75 countries, and we conduct field research studies about the entrepreneurial phenomenon, both at international, national, regional, and local level. I'm going to share with you some results related to the field work done right after the COVID pandemic we are overcoming. First, okay. You can find our publications in this website, and in case anybody else needs some additional information, I'll be glad to share with you later on. Well, let's go to some findings, some results. First, we used the TIA indicator. TIA stands for Total Entrepreneurial Activity Index, which we use to measure this phenomenon all around the world with the same methodology and simultaneous field work. We measure different dimensions. First, we have the female and male attitudes towards entrepreneurship, and we find that in Madrid, and in Spain in general, mostly in advanced countries, the male entrepreneurship is above the female one. However, it is very satisfactory to share with you that in Madrid, these two indicators are converging into the same direction. Some backs and downs, etc., but everything is going as we would like. However, there's been a drop in the index due to COVID. We're usually in the 7-something, but this year we dropped to 5.8. Still ahead of the average of Spain. We also measured the motivations to become an entrepreneur. Basically, they were necessity or opportunity. Most advanced economies go for the opportunity driver, but we wanted to go a little bit deeper, and we found those 4 indicators making a difference in the world, which is something very attractive and very sensitive for young people and young entrepreneurs and advanced societies in general. And then we have generate wealth and a great income, carry on family tradition, etc. We find that Madrid's profile falls within those profiles proper of advanced societies. We usually go for impacting the world and making a living. But this year specifically has meant a shift that I will go into sometime later. Well, this graphic reflects the results of the interviews we made to experts, observers of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We have 12 indicators, and in the case of Madrid, we have a clear advantage, even comparing to the European Union with respect to infrastructure and services. We are really good at that. But we have a deficit in financing. We also have a certain perception of disadvantage in international market dynamics, probably due to the pandemic. And we also have a long way to go in terms of diffusing entrepreneurial values and knowledge within the educational system, particularly in primary and secondary education. Then we have the analysis of TIA, total earning entrepreneurial activity. We differentiate different phases in the entrepreneurial process, from potential to consolidator and maybe exiting. Let's concentrate on these two indicators, potential and registered. Potential entrepreneurship is referring to those people in the population. We're referring to general population, not necessarily high-tech entrepreneurs, who dream of becoming an entrepreneur or who think that entrepreneurship would be a solution for their future. Well, we see that the profile is different compared to those who actually start a business. Those are registered as entrepreneurs and are working, creating jobs, etc. We have differentiated 5 areas in the Madrid region. The capital and the north, east, south, and west. And the profiles are different. Why? Usually, the south and east, they perceive the need and or the anxiety or the dream to become an entrepreneur, but they don't actually do it, maybe because of socioeconomic and cultural barriers. However, the capital and the north are more proactive. They usually are more aware of opportunities and really go for them more consistently. However, the West is more consistent. They really plan. They are more professional, educated people. We have more resources, and when they see an opportunity, they go for it and they fulfill it. However, there are differences as to gender in the different zones, particularly in the South. In the South, women are more prone to become an entrepreneur than men. It's surprising, but it is also due to sociocultural and economic reasons. There is a need to survive, to make a living, and they are more prone to do something on their own than men do. Going deeper into motivation for entrepreneuring, we have the 4 items I mentioned before. And however, because of the pandemic, there has been a shift, a striking shift in what people think and what people do. In general, young entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, they are more motivated to create wealth or a very high income and make a difference in the world. They really want to change society and bring value. As they start their business, consolidate it, and, well, they make it, they shift. They turn into making a living and make money as the primary motivation, leaving behind the survival impetus or motivation that they had on the economic side when they started their business. That is, the difficulty of running a business makes a shift in values. However, COVID brought the situation we have in our picture, we have in our slide. The profile is more or less the same, with earning a living being the dominant motivation at all stages. Something logical because of the striking economic, social, and work situation. I am very, very selective as to the contents. Then we have the activity of job creation in new ventures. In general, we see self-employment and very low job creation in new companies, both because of the scarcity of resources and also because of the fear to engage in high expenditures that make the project unviable. The companies in Madrid, most companies created, are in the service sector. We all know about it. And they don't require as many people as manufacturing companies. However, companies are creating jobs, but more consciously, they are more conservative as consequence of the pandemic. And then we have finance. Financing is very important. We are comparing Spain with Madrid. And we see that personal funding is very is the protagonist, with financial institutions and the family as the followers. We are speaking of general entrepreneurship, which is not usually very sensitive to private investors, risk capital, and so on. The average investment in a new company in Madrid is 45,000 euros. However, private investors, sometimes it is full family and friends, they put an additional 14,000 euros in these new projects. Just reaching main conclusions, let me stop my watch. We have TIA is increasing with some ups and downs depending on situational conditions. Female entrepreneurship is converging with male entrepreneurship. We have a very favorable entrepreneurial ecosystem, very coherent with what we have heard in previous interventions in this forum. And there is a need to improve in market dynamics, which is something dealing with identity and public policies. We have not spoken about intrapreneurship, which is very important, especially in advanced societies. Madrid is well ahead of the rest of Spain, but we are lagging behind other European countries. There is approximately a 2-point difference between the three sets, Spain, Madrid, and Europe. Innovation and internationalization are two subjects to be improved and addressed both by companies and by public policies. And the main source of financing for companies is still private investment, both on the side of the entrepreneur, its next environment, and then financial institutions. This is for the general public. And that will be all. I think there is some idea. No, okay. Okay, educational system. It's very important to work on it. Not as much at the university level, which still is something to work on, but at the primary and secondary education, which is what most of the general public get when they start entrepreneuring. Okay, I am finished. I hope we have some time for questions if you want. And thank you very much for your attention.